Welcome to The Last of Us Retrospective. Please be forewarned that full spoilers for Joel and Ellie's journey are included here, as well as footage that includes intense violence, blood, and gore, and some strong but censored language. I'm so glad to have you here, so let's begin without any further delay.
Come on. Damn it! Where do I go? What do I do? I gotta make it. I have to endure and survive. For Ellie, for Tess and Riley, Sam, Henry, Ish, all the survivors along the way, including the skeleton in the toilet, who, in a valiant last act, pointed out one of the last pieces of Ellie's comic book collection for me. The elevator! Go, go, go! Oh, yeah! Yes! Oh, thank God. Wow. There's never a moment in this game that isn't beautiful in some way, is there?
Hey, wait. Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
Was that the right thing to do? Doesn't Ellie deserve the unfiltered truth? Flip the coin. Doesn't Joel deserve a second chance at happiness? Can we really blame him for being selfish? What would we have done? The masterful shades of gray that bind together the characters and events in The Last of Us comprise its most impactful moments.
However, you could take every bit of nuance, character development, and story away, and you'd still have an intricately crafted world with environments that span states, tons of geography, and even seasons. They are filled with adversaries that evolve the zombie apocalypse genre, implanting stealth, tension, and some moments of good old-fashioned pummeling and bloodshed, with puzzle solving intelligently intermixed. Like here, Ellie can't swim, so Joel utilizes a pallet for her to traverse this flooded area on. Smart! By a stroke of luck, he also finds one here to help get them into the hotel.
Get on. We'll come to the hotel.
Yeah. Well, as we know, Ellie can't swim. And in a 20-hour gameplay journey across the entire United States, there's bound to be a little bit of repetition. That's no big deal.
Let's go, Riley.
Oh, there you go. That's smart.
Yeah, I already said that, game, but yeah, sure. Brilliant innovation. That's masterful. Oh, look! A gap of water! Remember, Ellie can't swim, so I bet she's going to have to...
All right, Ellie, I need you to...
I know. Step on the pallet.
Well, I guess even legendary games have misses. Good to see you, gamers. I'm Shep from Gaming Introspection. I'm very grateful to have you here, and if you enjoy deep dive retrospectives, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Today's episode isn't as retro as most. This tale is less than a decade old, and it still stands as one of the best games of any generation today. It's one of the few games in the medium that I can say really lived up to its pre-release hype.
The Last of Us borrows some elements from the Walking Dead craze that was huge in the first half of the 2010s, but it fills a desolate and increasingly hopeless world with characters that are brought to life by a voice cast that set a new standard for what people expect in terms of game character authenticity and gripping storylines. Perhaps even more impressive, its gameplay could stand on its own regardless.
And I am not going to spend a lot of time on the misses in this episode. It's just got too many strengths that I really want to heap praise on. But I did find a few things that perplex me, as I always do. Settle in to our latest retrospective, It's time to examine the hits and misses of The Last of Us.
Troy Baker was already an established A-list voice actor in the gaming medium. His resume speaks for itself. What a gamut he's run. He's portrayed everything from realistic personas like Sam Drake in Uncharted and Booker DeWitt in the BioShock series, superheroes like Batman, all the way to Japanese high school kids like Kanji in Persona 4. It's impressive to say the least. Ashley Johnson is perhaps more well known for her live action work, but she's also dabbled in animation and game series like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Teen Titans series.
Their combined talents complement each other astoundingly well as Joel and Ellie. We get invested in a duo that initially really struggled to understand each other's plight, but it eventually leads to the gradual thawing of Joel's heart as he comes to accept the promise of hope. The hope that even after a life of pain and after everything he had gone through, maybe there was still something left for him to look forward to, if he was able to let go of all that lost time.
Your watch is broken.
The substantial length to The Last of Us benefits this relationship because it gives the two moments to breathe, talk, and bond. This slowly dissolves the barriers that have isolated Joel's humanity in the 20 years of his survive-at-all-costs existence, which he felt was all that remained.
Wait for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess! Now we tried.
And, to be sure, there's tons of stubborn and reluctant moments that Joel at first seems unwilling to relinquish. When Tess sacrifices herself to give the pair a way out, Ellie does what she, and I would think all of us, would deem natural. She awkwardly tries to console him, and it's met with punishing retaliation.
About Tess, I don't even know what
Here's how this thing's gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess. Ever.
Yikes! Note Ellie's shock and obedience here. She doesn't know this man well yet, but now he's all she's got, so she's not going to try and rock the boat anymore. Soon after, though, you notice soft glimpses of Joel warming up to Ellie's company. It starts small, with Joel attempting to shield her from the worst of the worst visuals, while also making sure Ellie's prepared to meet Bill.
You don't take too kindly to strangers.
All right.
After Joel sees through the Pittsburgh ambush, Ellie begins to ask a few more questions, including how Joel was able to survive all this time.
So, you kill a lot of innocent people? I'll take that as a yes.
Take it however you want.
It's proof that no one that's left in this world has an unblemished past. There are no good guys in this series. You become aware of Ellie's love for video games while inspecting the old arcade, and music when finding the record store, lamenting all the unheralded tunes that will never be played, which is expanded on in the Left Behind DLC. She really wants to whistle.
Are you alright?
I'm trying to learn how to whistle.
You don't know how to whistle.
It doesn't sound like I know how to whistle.
And eventually succeeds.
I'm whistling!
Oh, good. Something else you can drive me crazy with.
While humming instrumental riffs incoherently throughout the journey. Joel, for his part, begins giving Ellie some small responsibilities, even though, deep down, he's terrified of the consequences, and this helps the two trust each other.
I won't let you down with this.
By the time she pops that clutch and fires the truck up, Joel just has to admit,
You gotta admit, she did hold her own back there.
Later on, science fiction books quickly become an obsessive side quest. Most of us adored Undertaking, but it's Ellie's book of puns that help her chip away at Joel's unflinching seriousness. They're all jokes that are so bad, they're good. And it's a welcome reprieve from all the tense and gory events that seems to cascade onto the main characters at every turn. Joel pretends to show utter disinterest at first, but you can tell he's happy to see this playful side of Ellie emerging.
I stayed up all night wondering where the sun went. Then it dawned on me.
Oh, I get it.
By the time they get to a school that's similar to the orphanage/military trainee facility Ellie grew up in, she is already becoming jaded, understanding the most realistic and plausible fates of those kids. But Joel? He attempts to share some hope here.
They ain't kids no more.
Meaning they're either hunters trying to kill us, or they're dead.
Or they got away.
It's an example where both of their personalities are influencing each other, and that's how relationships should naturally build.
These moments where the characters and the scenery get to breathe and immerse you in the world, separate from the gameplay, are exquisite and endearing. They don't overstay their welcome, but always reappear in new forms to get you further invested in the duo. But there's never a smooth slope that assures you it's going to be conflict-free from here on in. It would be boring without trials or turbulence.
Even the animations have great care taken with them to display their current mental states. After Ellie saves Joel's life, he fails to give her any praise or even acknowledgement of her amazing feat.
And you just hang back like I told you to.
Well, you're glad I didn't, right?
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
Afterwards, Ellie's quieter, but also more closed off in how she stands and poses. There's been a rift here, and it won't easily heal. It's done with the dialogue, too.
You know what? No. How about, hey, Ellie, I know it wasn't easy, but it was either him or me. Thanks for saving my ass.
Ellie's proven herself, has asked for a gun on multiple occasions. She's tried so hard to be helpful to both of their survival, and yet this is what she gets?
You got anything like that for me, Joel?
We gotta get going.
Lead the way.
It's no wonder she becomes closed off.
We need to get back out, find that bridge.
Just tell me where to go.
I hate this crap.
Refreshingly, these aren't typical teenage angst moments. They are realistic, emotional reactions to barred communication and stubbornness. Upon reaching Tommy's dam, Joel negotiates for Tommy to handle Ellie's affairs due to his Firefly connections. Ellie doesn't give a damn about any of the realistic sense behind it. If you catch wind that your protector for the last few months is planning to dump you off at some random place, it's traumatic. Let's be real. Ellie's already feeling attached to Joel as a daughter would.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
I know, I am too.
All right, next squirrel I see, I'm totally shooting it.
Let's get past this place, then we can scrounge up some food.
Well, if I starve, you're responsible.
But despite how experienced Joel is, he has surprisingly little insight as to what the inciting incident was.
Police nuts. Nothing like this. What's going on?
The scene that follows explains her vanishing act and features some of Troy and Ashley's best chemistry and voice work in any video game ever. Ellie's understandably mortified that Joel would just leave her there and confronts him about his lost daughter, Sarah. Observe Joel's reaction.
I guess we're both disappointed with each other then. What are you so afraid of? Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
He's just about to snap. You can tell it's all he can do not to take his pistol out and start shooting it into the ceiling like a lunatic. But Ellie brings Joel back down to earth with words that give him pause.
everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
Joel's pain. Hopefully, none of us have experienced it, but we can definitely understand his reaction here. The prologue is cerebral and tragic. showing us how awful and lonely his post-outbreak life would become. But when Ellie speaks, us as players, and I think Joel too, we take a step outside of that self-absorbed pain and realize that in this cruel world, there's no limit to the amount of loss someone has endured. Everyone's had to deal with too much of it, and everyone is broken.
And Ellie herself is just so insistent that she needs him, there's not much else for Joel to think about. Despite his immediate words, it's decided quickly upon their return to Tommy's that instead of dropping her off with his brother, he's going to see the adventure through to its end. And this girl will be what he devotes the rest of his life to.
You good?
I'm good.
From here on, Ellie and Joel are inseparable, and the bond gets deeper, with them sharing their own childhood ambitions with each other. It's amazing, too, that tidbits like this would be fleshed out in the sequel years later. But that's a huge video for another day, if you'd enjoy it.
Shut up.
No, serious.
Sing something.
No.
Come on, I won't laugh.
I don't think so.
Joel, please.
Despite the more relaxed bond, Ellie still pushes too hard at times, like this interaction when asking about Joel's marriage.
What happened?
Okay,
Too much?
too much.
And even when they're getting along well, and Ellie comments on how cool it would have been to see this teen horror romance movie, Joel slips up on mentioning he was dragged to it by someone, but cuts Ellie off before revealing that it was Sarah. But by the time you persevere into the penultimate chapter, Ellie surprises Joel with that same photo of Sarah that he had rejected from his own brother back at Tommy's dam.
I'm good.
You sure? I mean,
I've said I'm good.
The warmth and acceptance here is one of many fulfilling moments. This game rewards you for sticking with these two almost as much as they reward each other.
Thank you.
Unexpected plot drops push the relationship to new limits. Joel becoming incapacitated, it's just gut-wrenching.
Come on, you gotta get up. Joel!
And when you cut to Ellie hunting that magnificent buck, days later, without a whisper of explanation, you're left picking your jaw up off the floor. Is this like a flash forward in time, several months, to a reality where Joel promptly died and Ellie has found a secluded, solitary hunting lifestyle? Is this the epilogue? When it first happened, we didn't know. But the references made here, with the buck gradually bleeding out, yet continuing on,
How are you still alive?
before Ellie finally finds it dead, give us the impression that Joel had pushed as far as he could, but eventually expired. However, when David shows up and the two barter for supplies, as soon as you hear,
Medicine!
we feel that rush of relief. But that's balanced by how creepy David comes across, how untrustworthy he already seems. I can't overstate enough how much contrasting emotions exude out of these characters and situations. Speaking of David, he, Tess, and the supporting cast are supremely designed as well. I love how ambiguous it is whether or not Tess and Joel have had a romantic connection, in addition to their smuggling partnership.
Doing that.
Yes, you are. Look. There's enough here that you have to feel some sort of obligation to me, so you get her to Tommy's.
Regardless, it's a remarkable bond of trust, filled with subtleties. Check out Joel's longtime partner's heightened aggression shortly before leaving for the Capitol building where the Fireflies apparently are.
Hey, let's pick it up. Look, we're almost done. Stay focused.
Yes, ma'am.
Tess is always fiery, but even Joel is kind of taken aback by her insistence here. We find out soon that she'd been bitten in a previous scuffle off-screen. And given that the first signs of infection are the person becoming very irritable and prone to rage, it's a subtle way to foreshadow what will become fact in an hour's time. We next meet a paranoid Bill.
You know what that means? Taking all the supplies from the warehouse
Okay,
and lugging to the
well,
east
now he's
fence
talking to himself.
again. Then it'll take...
His terrifying intensity and tinfoil hat persona steals some spotlight away from a sensitive, gay man who unfortunately isn't given enough screen time to explore his relationship with Frank and the latter's sudden demise. But his booby-trapped town demonstrates just how out of commission the world is. Doing something as simple as finding an operating vehicle involves suiting up in military-grade equipment, taking out dozens of infected, giving yourself very small odds of surviving, all to find a battery, which ended up not even existing.
It's empty. What?
And we think we have it rough some days.
Where the hell is? Come on.
Upon meeting Sam and Henry and hearing their case for joining up, I bet your immediate response was, well, they're goners.
Because of course, friendly partner characters can't last too long in this world. And I'll admit, that was my reaction too. However, the way this plays out still hits us over the head. They survive Pittsburgh, they survive the sewers, including a frighteningly intense last stand as they get the kids out, and they make it through the sniper scene, or at least it looks that way. But in this subtle animation here, Sam's fate is sealed, and Henry escalates the tension before shifting it to heartbreak that even Joel, in all he has witnessed, gets paralyzed by. But there's more to this. Ellie's influence really has started to impact Joel as he genuinely begins to trust again. She convinces him that it's a partnership that could last. The Joel even 2 weeks ago would have killed Henry in seconds. Not anymore.
What do you say, you in?
Sounds like a good plan, man.
As far as bad guys go, David is the most suitably creepy villain.
Please tell me your name.
Who is made even more disturbing by how well he can put on the calm, genuinely caring charade, which seems to also show in his early actions. But when his mask falls and that real terror is exposed, it makes the climactic battle with him all the more unnerving. More on that later.
Still, this is Joel and Ellie's story. We savor every moment that they have together. And even though the events they experience are often violent, depressing, or angsty, I think it's those small, hopeful rays of light moments that speak the loudest.
The wild giraffe encounter in Salt Lake City leaves us breathless. Despite everything awful that the world has dumped on these two, it's an experience that never would have happened if the outbreak didn't hit. Joel and Ellie don't waste it. They embrace it, savor it, getting up close, feeling the giraffe's fur, and taking their time watching them peacefully lumber off for more food, making it all the more clear how, while the small pockets of humans left selfishly fight for control over the tiny mounts of the civilization that's left, nature has flourished.
It's not all flawlessly scripted though, as there is one moment that really gets under my skin.
In the game's final moments, Joel finds Ellie unconscious on the operating table. No one in this room is a huge threat. The only one that even attempts to stop Joel is the lead surgeon, armed with a measly scalpel. In this situation, you cannot get Ellie and leave peacefully. You can't just disarm the doctor either. Joel has to take his life. If you don't use your guns, Joel does a brutal animation on his own, and that's that. And this, I don't know. It just doesn't jive well with me. What if Ellie isn't the only immune person? This doctor might be able to try again with a willing patient. Honestly, there is next to no chance a doctor would be able to even hurt the rugged survivor. And you don't have to inflict any pain on his assistants, so why? Maybe knock him out, sure, but this? And the game makes it feel like you do have a choice. This isn't a cinema scene. You're in control, but yet you're not. If it was just a scripted movie that played out and Joel happened to accidentally take out the doctor who suddenly tried to jump him, sure. But this? I don't know. What do you think? For those who have played the sequel, do you really think they had everything planned out 6 years in advance? I suppose it's possible, but this still doesn't sit well with me. The final scene has been the subject of so many interpretations. Joel lies to Ellie's face.
I swear.
She seems to accept the lie, but does she really?
Okay.
These hues of morality define The Last of Us. The characters' decisions, your opinions, my opinions, they all carry some weight, but there is no singular truth to anything.
Was Joel's personal happiness worth damning humanity? Ellie will likely be traumatized with survivor's guilt in the future. I mean, more than she already has. But isn't living with those guilty feelings worth still being able to experience life? And doesn't she have a right to life? The Fireflies didn't even ask her before prepping her for surgery.
The muddied ethics are fascinating. And if Joel and Ellie's journey had concluded with a generic happy or sad ending, would it have been this memorable? Probably not.
So is that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out. But man, can't deny that view.
The Last of Us crafts environments that spare no expense. Meticulous is the best word to describe it.
The attention to detail is exhaustive. Characters cringe at a flashlight shining right into their eyes. Leaves fall from trees and remain on the ground. Realistic reflections shimmer from mundane city windows or garbage cans. If you look upwards, you see fully designed heating and ventilation systems and mold-covered foam tiles, while on the ground lay old mattresses that squeak underneath your weight. You analyze Sarah's room and find a giraffe stuffy, foreshadowing one of the most elative moments in the plot. The art nerd in me is grateful for the included photo mode for capturing these details. Whether you want to freeze that moment of emotion in someone's eyes, or just gaze endlessly at some of the urban or organic locations, you can save them for eternity and customize them with almost unlimited camera angles, filters, and zooms, complete with framing and color schemes. These visual splendors just help cement this game's reputation for proving that video games truly are art. Whether you classify that as gorgeous visual design, deep, multifaceted characters, or panoramic views that rival nature. Bringing this to a broader context, some of the best interactions between Joel and Ellie are the ones that illustrate how the world used to work. Ellie is astounded at how skinny women wanted to look and how girls would obsess over frivolous things like boys and clothes, and is unwilling to believe Henry's outlandish story about an ice cream truck, even after Joel confirms it.
Cream truck?
Yeah, Henry told me about these. They sell ice cream out of the truck.
What? No way, Joel?
This thing would drive around and play real loud, creepy music, and kids would come running out to buy ice cream.
You're totally with me.
Serious.
You need patience, though, to discover these interactions. If you rush to the next action piece, you won't find many of the prompts, and thus won't learn nearly as much about the cast or the world. The Last of Us encourages you to take it slow and embrace the overarching themes, like how nature is effortlessly overtaking what was once a proud human civilization, and take in smaller, more emotional details about the inhabitants. Notes and journal entries give detailed accounts of what would have been overwhelming moments for the people who wrote them, spanning from the initial 2013 outbreak days to struggles among military personnel and survivors that occurred maybe within the past week. Families made clear attempts to defend themselves against looters in the beginning, and left desperate warnings in a blind panic, while the lowest of the low thugs leave messages like this, showing total disdain for these poor souls who probably never found each other. Every tiny detail is unique and casts a different lens over Earth's permanent, dismal existence. In your unending search for survival supplies, you'll raid dozens of houses, each with reminders of a world that we still take for granted far too much. Wedding photos, family pictures, and pets that encapsulate love, untainted happiness, and future dreams, now forever neglected, never to be seen by the people imprinted on them ever again. It doesn't end there. Office cubicles adorned with adorable children's crafts and memorabilia, things that would have no doubt helped that husband or wife grind through what may have been another soulless, unfulfilling workday, and award plaques that honor an employee's service that once meant something now sit useless forever, hastily deserted as all hell broke loose. Artwork of First Nations warriors, nature, cities, and simple child drawings give personality to different areas. Needless guidelines, rules, and regulations, it all hammers home just how meaningless the law and human expectations are within 2033. Dorm rooms are pasted full of typical college student posters, and university bulletin boards are littered with standard party flyers and missing item pinups. There's no facet of life that hasn't been abandoned. This is all easy to miss, as the gameplay has a clear focus.
You know the drill. Look around, see if there's anything we can use.
Roger that.
But in most cases, you aren't forced to rush through these locations, and it's worth the exploration to discover more of the personal, unfinished stories that populate a world that's now remarkably unpopulated. A few settings are remarkably untouched, like this fancy dining hall in the Pittsburgh Hotel. It makes players wonder how something this prominent and lush has stood the last 2 decades without much of a scratch. Visual fidelity, even on my ancient PS4 version, is so incredibly high that you can zoom in on a random restaurant menu on the hotel floor and examine its contents and prices. Yeah, there are some reused assets. I swear, How to Draw Criminals and Smiles for Society are the most celebrated books in the United States for some reason. Several whiteboards in a foreign language are scattered across states, and everyone across the country coincidentally owns the exact same lawnmower and barbecue. But every house you can enter has its own floor plan, charm, and story. My favorite example of this hit, though, is the sewer system, which, finally, I can say comprises a sewer level that I liked. Most sewer levels in games are so unbearably mundane, almost a chore, that people simply want to get over with as fast as possible. But here, you become invested in the tragic story of Ish, a man who spent his life surviving at sea before he was forced to return to the mainland due to a lack of supplies. But his resourcefulness and trust in strangers made him reconsider making a go of it alone.
What kind of an existence would that be? To live out our lives completely in isolation. It's notes like this that make us grateful for the people that we trust in our lives. We all need connections, even the most introverted of us. And this note is such a ray of light that I hope it really affected some people in a positive way.
As you explore and find more of Ish's logs, you start feeling purity and compassion in one of the most repulsive and contaminated settings possible. It's astonishing to bask in the community that he and his trusted survivors established. There's a natural rain filtration water system providing clean water, and even the usage of commercial soaps for washing clothes, a makeshift soccer net and ball for kids' recreation, boards outlining the growing society's rules and responsibilities, topped off by a school area that's been used for language arts and math drills. That one chance Ish took on some strangers blossomed into something much more. And as you investigate, you haven't even seen any infected, and you become hopeful that you'll at least find some of these survivors.
But it doesn't happen. The Last of Us doesn't ever allow things to just turn out.
There's disturbing notes of infected breaking into the sewers, with one protector failing in his bid for a last stand, with absolutely heartbreaking results. Soon enough, you become invaded by a herd of them, and it becomes clear that despite our idealistic hopes, any attempts to resurrect one's dreams will always degrade into another hellish nightmare that you simply have to escape from.
Open it from the other side. Make it fast.
As far as timeline goes, we are situated halfway in between this game's release and its setting. And I hope we've come to appreciate things in our own reality in that time. We've endured through COVID, and don't get me wrong, that has been miserable. My heart goes out to anyone who's had to deal with it already or will have to in the future. But things aren't nearly as awful as they would be if a real-life cordyceps outbreak that affected humans actually happened. We act like our own woes are unbearable at times. I'm just as guilty as anyone at complaining about first world problems, and some of those aren't insignificant. But let's always keep things in perspective.
Are we locked down into tiny military-controlled quarantine zones for decades on end? Do we resort to roasting rats on the grill for food?
Oh, that is a big rat.
Did we go to school in a sewer system? Are we shrinking back into corners like a terrified animal when someone gets close, suspicious of everyone, while without hesitation giving away our only currency for food just to track down a backstabbing criminal? When you revisit this game, a kind suggestion: take in the lonely emptiness of those apartment buildings, houses, workplaces, and makeshift schools, and maybe we can all find more gratitude in the luxuries and, much more importantly, the people that we still have.
God damn! We did it, boys!
I am not doing perfect, but I am happy to be here in this greatly flawed existence. And I hope that you, wherever you are generally happy as well. Let's make this time count.
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay.
Guys,
Catch your breath. We're leaving.
hey. Watch out!
The balance of The Last of Us combat is remarkable. That slow pace I mentioned in the world building seeps into its resource management and combat.
There's just enough ammo and just enough resources to give you a few choices in terms of going aggressive, being stealthy, or using noise to distract enemies. You never feel underpowered, well, unless you do grounded mode, which I have cleared, thank you for asking. But you definitely don't feel overpowered either. There's a healthy selection of varied weapons, including 2 different kinds of shotguns, scoped weapons, handguns, and specialized instruments of destruction. But if you recklessly chuck explosives and spray bullets everywhere, you'll be out of resources within seconds. And even if you survive, you'll be in a tough spot for the next encounter. If you do take your time and search, you'll find bits of rags, alcohol, and food for bonus bits of health. Thorough scavengers will find training manuals that provide huge benefits. Your shivs can be used more than once before breaking. Your explosive attacks gain much larger blast radiuses, smoke bombs linger for many more seconds, and you can attach stronger bindings to make sure your melee weapons do lethal damage many times over. It's so important to look for everything instead of rushing to the next location. Not only is it engrossing to read about all the different horrific experiences when you find notes, you can sometimes find very useful ones, like those that give you the combinations to safes for some precious loot. If you don't take the time to explore, you could miss entire weapons, like the flamethrower that's found in this dark university maintenance shed. Shiv doors can be found that require you to make sure you always have one handy. It's worth it every time, and you can usually use the ingredients to craft the shiv that you had to sacrifice anyway. And sometimes the rewards are essential, like this toolbox crate that you can use in order to raise the cap on the upgrades for all of your weapons. Speaking of which, The Last of Us borrows a bit from games like Resident Evil 4 here, wherein you can use the parts you've scavenged in your journey to enhance your firearms.
Now we're talking.
As well as use pills and herbs to improve vital statistics. In my opinion, maximum health and weapon sway are the most important. Let me know your preferences. All of these options only present themselves if you take your time to look for the parts and supplies. You're almost always rewarded for checking out each small drawer or going into those darker, tougher to get to places. Whether it's craft materials, pendants and trees, comics to entertain Ellie, or extra parts, there's always something to be gained by going that extra mile. It's so refreshing, so far away from games like Call of Duty or other extra violent games that demand quick reflexes and pay no heed to what resources you use up. And even if you do find everything, you will never get enough to upgrade Joel completely in one playthrough. So you have to put serious thought into what weapons and personal abilities you want to invest in. That's not to say that you can just suck at shooting and have a slow mind when combat erupts. There's certain confrontations that are unavoidable, and you need to be able to pop off a few shots, throw a few haymakers, and adapt to enemy movements. You also need to find spaces to recover and bandage up if you're hurt, as crafting is all done in real time. If you're a sitting duck, well, you're just asking to get shot. However, these encounters are the exception. The vast majority of the time, you can use your listen mode to scout out enemy positions. This skill may seem a bit gimmicky, but it adds layers to your strategy. And when you upgrade it, you can plan out your moves in advance if you know the lay of the land. This enables you to scout and either pick enemies off slowly with a silent weapon like the bow, which is one of my favorites, or skirt around the encounter completely.
Screw this. I ain't waiting any longer.
Things get so tense. Environments play into it as well, as simply knocking over a bottle
They spotted us. Find something to hide behind.
may be enough to alert humans that someone else is there. And if you move too quick, even while crouching, a clicker will attack and sink its fangs into you, and that's it. It's up to you though. If you have that aggressive, must kill monsters personality, you can definitely soup up that flamethrower, send Ellie and Joel into battle against two bloaters, and burn some monster ass. It's fun to switch between styles and find what works for you. Another player may just eliminate the runners that are right in their way, and still others will slowly crawl around, not alerting anything, making it a stressful but ultimately viable option if combat isn't your thing.
Each enemy encounter has its own conditions, which are further complicated by what supplies you have available.
You'll need to adjust based on all of these factors. Let's look at some random combat samples. This floor is infested with runners. If you make eye contact or shine your light like an idiot, you'll get one of them on you and then things go south in a hurry. But you can pull out the flamethrower, which incinerates infected enemies quickly. Or you use your hearing and you note only two of them are actually moving. So you take them out, away from the others, and then you can just leisurely choke out the remaining infected quietly. After entrusting Ellie with the rifle, do you then take out as many enemies as possible while they're still talking, making it easier for her to back you up as reinforcements flood into her shooting range?
Keep doing that.
Or do you sneak up to the adjoining complex, making both you and Ellie covert snipers who wreak havoc on the goons who have no idea what's going on? When this prick with the sniper rifle blasts away,
You trying to be sneaky again?
do you keep to the perimeter, having to deal with more of his men? Maybe you have enough resources to create smoke bombs and quickly advance up the center of the street, using cars to move from cover to cover.
You crying behind that car?
Should you just ignore that blind group of clickers and ensure your safety? Or throw a bottle, lure them into an open spot, and burn them all in hopes of finding some extra ammo? Do you use those scissor blades to create shivs for silent kills on clickers? Or keep them with you to ensure you always have a one-hit kill melee weapon handy? Chuck a nail bomb and try to take out multiple thugs at a time? Or use it as a proximity mine and funnel enemies through a narrow opening to ensure they hit it? Options are limitless. Do you use a brick as a noise distraction?
I heard something!
Or do you rearrange someone's face with it? If you're pinned down with limited cover, do you use a smoke bomb to enable a sneak attack? Or do you have enough trust in your quick reflexes and accuracy to snipe them both with a bow? You can almost always do any one of these things, and the game never tells you or guides you into thinking one solution is inherently better than another. Just like the multiplayer mode we'll investigate later, different temperaments and skills are each given their opportunity to be showcased, so you feel like it's a fair challenge no matter what your inherent approach is. Outside of combat, the game is always switching things up. You'll have to don a mask to investigate spore-infested areas with mini-infect. You'll submerge Joel underwater to solve puzzles and locate the majestical, super important pallets.
Oh, no way! Yes!
In rare cases, you'll get overwhelmed and need to sprint to break through a horde of runners. Ellie graduates from warning you of incoming attacks to pushing enemies off of you to stabbing them and then shooting them outright once she gets her handgun. And then there's one-time action set pieces, like the upside-down trap, the aforementioned sniper scene, chase sequences, and horse riding, just keeping you wondering what else the rest of the game has in store for you. That moment, when you finally overcome that damn sniper's taunting and arrogance.
That must have hurt! Keep hiding, sucker!
Break into his fortress, take him out, and then take over his own rifle to defend your friends. It's a high that takes over you and keeps you smiling.
Thanks, Joel. You're a firefly.
I will put this in writing someday. I am probably the worst Call of Duty player that ever existed. I mean, I really, really suck. This would be me if I was in a real-life war situation. Yeah, it's that bad in-game too. It's honestly the last game I would ever play if I was given a choice. I respect its sales, but to me it's just been the same game since 2007 with minor enhancements along the way. But I mean, I just don't have the bloodlust or the reaction time for it.
So imagine my surprise when I sat down with The Last of Us multiplayer and enjoyed everything about it. Factions is an amazingly designed combat simulator. The abilities give you tremendous freedom to assume a specialized role in a survivor group, which even has a pseudo-society that can increase or decrease in members depending on your success or brutal failures. This mode is surprisingly customizable, and I don't just mean with equipment or physical appearances. Loadouts are extremely varied in the skills and perks you can equip. If you suck at shooting and attacking like me, you can tail behind your gung-ho companions, looting crafting supplies, and making additional Molotovs or nail bombs as gifts for your teammates to use. It's so cool because different people's personalities lend themselves well to different roles. If you're good at the aiming and shooting and have quick reflexes, you've got skills that let you down opponents quickly so you can save ammo and give yourself the best opportunity for explosions to work. Maybe you're somewhere in between, where you like the thrill of surprising your opponents undetected with shivs, or staying back to chuck Molotovs and nail bombs at your foes. Choose the skills that keep you unmarked or increase your explosive effect areas. The rounds are manageable lengths too, and they give you just enough incentive to keep playing with the parts you get for your crew. You acquire points for doing basically any action, whether it's marking opponents or bombs, crafting items to give to others, and of course, downing and finishing off opponents. You can then use these points to buy armor and weapon upgrades from the store in the middle of the round. It works well too, because although passive players like crafters and healers aren't going to get as many points, they're never on the front lines anyway, so it doesn't affect them as much. Unless they're the last one standing, in which case, you lost. Whereas, if you're a gung-ho kill streak person, you'll want as many points as you can get, so you can brandish weapons of bigger destruction, as well as vests and helmets that give you that false sense of invulnerability. The tension of crafting items is even more intense here, because you're not just comfortably crouched behind a bad guy 6 feet away with no fear that he's going to change his route and get you. These are humans, and they are so much quicker and deadlier, so you have to get your crap done quick.
In contrast to the hundreds of hours you could spend upping your character abilities and skills and factions, Left Behind is actually just a 3-hour experience, but it is powerful. I actually really want to do a full-fledged video on it one day, just to really flesh it out. But I'll do my best to extol its accomplishments here.
You have two intermittent stories, one taking place in the middle of the main game, with Ellie desperately trying to save Joel after his brutal injury, and another in a flashback a month prior to the game's opening, where Ellie and Riley escape both their confined spaces and future destinies for a few hours in order to just be carefree teenagers before an inevitable parting of ways. And Riley? Well, she has a mammoth of backstory, which you can find in the comic series that would make a great partner to this game. And actually, Ellie also has tons of past experiences the game doesn't provide too. But there's so much instant chemistry that new players will instantly invest in their relationship. Left Behind is a miniature coming-of-age story. Small, isolated moments of innocence and friendship
She is.
help balance the harrowing survival expedition of Ellie's current circumstances. And there's cliffhangers within each that keep the whole thing moving at a fever pace.
Are you kidding?
You learn about Ellie's love for dumb jokes and the origin of her pun book.
It's for you.
I heard two peanuts walked into a park. One was assaulted.
She envisions herself within an unplayable fighting arcade game, which is one of my favorite sensory experiences.
You ready?
Bring it.
Round one. Fight.
Grabs you, mash, punch to break three.
It even has button combinations that are more complicated than Super Smash Bros. And towards the end, observe Ellie's first romantic moment, which is so wholesome and pure. I simply don't understand how some people feel the need to hate on it. If we could just accept the many different ways people and genders feel attracted to each other, or simply why different people are friends with other people, it would do the world a lot of good.
Exactly, Riley.
The tragic ending scene explores the choices one would face when staring down an inevitable death. And I can't imagine what Ellie went through as she watched Riley slowly lose her conscience and morality, whereas Ellie retained all of what makes her human.
You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
The concurrent adventure with Ellie trapped in a shopping mall follows the core game's gameplay much more closely, with notes, lock combinations, stealth, and crafting. But it's long enough and packed with enough elements and tiny details to hold your attention. Artifacts Ellie carries around with her show a love for a mother that she can't even remember. You gradually discover the remains of the crew that crashed this military helicopter into the roof, and it's so sad how their tragedy unfolded.
I'm bleeding to death, and I can't sew it back up. Not with one arm. It's so cold. I think I'll just rest.
Also, the combat gets much deeper in the final act, as there's both infected and members of David's gang infesting the mall. It gives the ending chapter some heightened anxiety, but also increases the opportunities for strategy. Using something as simple as a brick, you can make one loud noise that prompts the stunned infected to wake up and attack the bad guys. This is something I wish the main game did, but The Last of Us almost completely separates its infected and human encounters with no intermingling. But perhaps it was intentional, because it's too easy to just hang back while the bad guys engage with each other. But used sparingly in this tiny segment, it works brilliantly.
It's a perfect recipe for a game.
You create a world that players want to explore, filled with characters they care about. Then, you add gameplay that's a perfect complement to the state of the world and the very human restrictions of your characters while still being fun. And to top it off, you deliver multiplayer that offers a taste of what you'd feel if you were navigating through this world with companions in a reality that, hopefully, never comes to fruition.
What could I possibly complain about? This game is a slam dunk! As in, dunk. Underwater. Water. Oh no!
Just so it's out there, I can't swim. I can't swim.
Get on.
Be careful. We jump!
No, it's too high and you can't swim.
All right, Ellie, I need you to...
I know. Step on the pallet.
Yeah, I just can't help but criticize. And although it was difficult to find, there are a few quibbles that I would argue keep The Last of Us from being a flawless masterpiece that everyone wants to claim it as. Let's investigate.
No ladder here.
Got it.
Great, bring it over.
So, I know these dumpsters and planks are here to make sure players have to think a bit, instead of just walking from point A to point B. But there's not really any fun to be had with mundane tasks like this, particularly when you do them over and over and over again.
Now watch your step as you're going out, because it's going to be a little...
Planks are used ad nauseum, doors are constantly in need of being propped open or pushing the triangle button. I honestly think these are just glorified loading screens, and no one enjoys timing generator pulls with 3 button presses.
Damn thing.
Look at how many generators are scattered across this country! Oh my lord! Also, it's a goddamn miracle that all of these dumpsters, which have been neglected and rusting for decades, apparently all are equipped with squeaky, new oiled wheels that allow them to frictionlessly glide across the ground like on a skating rink.
Imagine if you were in a really tight spot in real life and your only salvation was salvageable through a dumpster.
Especially where I live, they ain't going anywhere. These things are huge and cumbersome. You could slam yourself against them and it won't budge an inch. Granted, these ones don't have wheels, but Joel, he steers these monstrosities around as if he's pushing a shopping cart around Walmart. I mean, they even use it as a battering ram in order to enter the Colorado University lab. So forgive me, I have a hard time believing in the pristine condition and mobility of these things.
But hey, in my defense, I live in a country that's 30 below zero half of the year. And even if those dumpsters that I showed you had wheels, there's no way you'd be able to budge them. At least the game doesn't have a dumpster that's located in an Arctic environment. That would be goddamn stupid. Oh, shut up! Seriously? She's pushing around a dumpster in a frozen lake world. And it's Ellie. She's a girl, and she's like, what, 12 years old?
I'm 14. Not that that has anything to do with anything.
Oh, sorry. Oh, wow. Maybe I'm just weak. No. This is on the game. It's a rare flaw in the game. And that's it.
Another aspect that's ludicrously overdone is the boosting up mechanic. It's nice that it kind of ties characters together and puts that us against the world feeling in our minds, but there's just so many slightly too high jumps that make exploring a bit more tedious than it should be. And what about the times when there's clearly environmental objects that you could move around to make it less strenuous? At Joel and Tess's hideout, just take one of these barrels and plant it here if you want to have a more permanent hideout exit that you could use constantly.
Wouldn't it be easier if you had like a 4-foot retractable ladder equipped with a hook that you could just store in your backpack and pull it out when you need it? Or use a grappling hook or some kind of improvised tool that would allow you access to higher areas? What if you and your partner get hurt? Or what if you're all alone and you come across this situation? What do you do then? All right, get over here. Okay, we've done this before. I'm gonna boost you onto the shed. you're gonna get up to the garage and scope out for any outliers, okay? We've done this so many times. We should be good by now.
Well, hey, we're in luck. Why don't we just move that a few inches to the left?
What the hell are you talking about? There is no other way. Let's do this.
Well, that, over there, by the shed. You don't see this?
No, I don't. What I see is someone that just wants to leave me out here to fend for myself.
Well, I'm just
No,
saying.
you know what? I get it. You just don't want to do this anymore. Well, you can go find someone else to help you survive. All right? I'm done. I'm out of here.
Nice.
And sometimes boosting should be used, but isn't.
I bet we can get up there.
No, it's too high. Let's see what we can find.
Oh, okay then. In the sewers, you look up at the sky, and you can't believe your eyes. There's an escape route to the surface. It's right there. But Joel's just like, no, can't reach that. First of all, there is equipment here. Move the stack of boxes a few feet to make a tower. Oh, and there's 4 of you. Make a human ladder and get up there and search for something else. It's so ridiculous. It's astonishing how much repetition there is. There's so many ladders that have to be found and used in the exact same ways so many times. In one instance, Ellie sets it up, then gets distracted so it falls, and you have to set it up again. Well, frick. I guess I'll just plod this middle-aged man with the ladder back to the wall. What? Oh man, I'm so impatient I pressed triangle too early. Gotta move closer. Oh, imagine if you could miss the giraffe scene because of this ladder fiasco. My lord!
No ladder here.
Where's the ladder? Yeah, if you're ever stuck, you can just assume that there's some ladder somewhere that must be about. There's other ways to ascend to different levels of areas besides ladders. And the pallets? That intro montage I did wasn't the full showcase. There's more pallets. I think there's 5 altogether. Yeah, right near the end of the game there's one. And you can just hear the weariness in Ellie's voice when Joel approaches her with this last one.
Okay, there. I'm on it. Be careful.
Couldn't Joel at least have taught Ellie how to doggy paddle? That's the basics of the basics.
But that's all she'd need in the majority of these situations, except for a couple that I'll admit the lack of swimming would be deadly. But damn, so annoying. In fact, this last pallet fiasco, it's a perfect culmination of The Last of Us's tedious level design. Let me walk you through this. Using the omnipotent power of the pallet, Joel transfers Ellie over to this platform where she lowers, yep, you guessed it, a ladder. And to piss us off even more, this time the ladder breaks apart just before Joel can quickly move on to the next area. So you attempt to climb back up. Because look at the pathetic amount of space between the 2 pieces. But nope, Joel's not going to even try that. So you climb back down and you wonder like a dumbass what to do for a while. Before you realize you need to take the ladder off of its spot, carry it around with you slower than it's taking the PS5 Pro to come out, climb up, shimmy it up with you, cut across, use it as a ladder again, and then to complete this craptacular puzzle trifecta, use the ladder as a plank so you can finally rejoin Ellie. We're at the end of the game, and nothing has evolved. Especially as this is right near the end of the story, where you just want to get to the emotional conclusion. The pacing and insistence of this sequence is truly aggravating. Sometimes it's not boosting or ladders, it's just lazy design. Like this moment at the lake.
Can't go this way.
Oh yeah, Joel. You are so right. I mean, you just survived being hung upside down with clickers after you, escaped a town with a fat guy, where a loud truck attracted every infected towards you, and just 10 minutes ago successfully fled a military machine gun truck by jumping into a raging river. But God forbid you'd have to get a couple of footholds and yank yourself over this omnipotent barrier. Really? That's where you throw in the towel? This isn't a challenge.
Speaking of unimpressive challenges, let's investigate the last miss that I could find in this last section of The Last of Us. Did I save the best for last? Shut up? Oh, yeah. Oh, fine. Well then.
Let's get on with it. And you think we have a choice? Is that it?
There's almost no instance where the game throws a large, intimidating, absolutely unexpected enemy encounter at you.
In fact, I'd wager to say that there's only 2 in this entire game.
The first one is at a random high school gym about halfway through Bill's town. This first appearance of the bloater enemy is an intense, deadly exchange. It's a good boss fight, in theory. You're constantly running from spewing acid clouds, finding cover to build up some Molotov to sear its fungal growth armor, but not able to stay down for too long because things are always moving and you've got no escape. Listening mode is useless, and the action won't stop until the pus bag drops dead or you do. And Joel is killed instantly if this big bastard catches you.
It's not amazing, but it's definitely a stressful encounter that quickens your pulse. The bloater has an insta-kill attack. It throws projectiles, which hadn't been a capability of any previous infected. And that's what I call a boss. I know what I said before about enjoying the patient gameplay where you have to use strategy and analysis, but once in a while, you gotta pull out some of your big guns and use up all your ammunition in a desperate, unavoidable encounter!
Small bursts of urgency and life or death are needed, especially in the universe that The Last of Us establishes without subtlety. However, while there are multiple attackers, and you'll suffer some close-quarter deaths most likely when you first play it, in actuality, this is just a regular infected encounter. You'll deal with bloaters a lot more later on. And in this instance, you have both Bill and Ellie to help you fight the lesser monsters, so it ends up being very underwhelming in retrospect. Later, you'll be expected to endure those same battles on your own, like at the university, and you realize that this really wasn't much of a test to begin with. To add insult to this, the battery you're looking for had already been stolen out of the truck months ago, so this was all pointless. The only other event that I consider a boss fight is when Ellie confronts the lousy David creep guy in the restaurant. It's an intense game of cat and mouse, where noise and stealth are critical, with false moves like walking onto shattered glass, giving yourself away, and resulting in very quick deaths. Finally, a human with a lot more cunning and intelligence is against you, and especially playing as Ellie on his own turf, you feel that disadvantage as dread seeps into you. Additionally, the developers build this moment up effectively. You've been playing as Ellie for a couple hours now, and along the way, you've learned how much more effort Ellie needs to apply than Joel to shiv or kill standard bad guys. It's impossible to win by recklessly slashing with your switchblade, and that's how it should be. Now that you're up against the leader, it gives you a feeling like you're going to have to be perfect to pull this off. You're unarmed, underpowered, with no way out. The tension and stress induced by this fight take the game to one of its highest highs, and it results in a payoff that is triumphant but bittersweet, as the traumatic events just keep mounting on this young girl's psyche.
It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
Back to the main point, yes, there are many different enemies everywhere situations, and they are tough and very memorable.
Among my favorites is when Joel finally relents and hands Ellie the old bolt action to help bust open some heads while he clears the way.
Doing that, Ellie.
And a really RE4-ish standoff in a house with Ellie and that David creep as infected storm into their shelter. It's crazy how similar these sequences are, actually. Check out the comparison.
We're getting out of this room.
Of course, the concluding chapter is very tough too, but it's still just the same basic gameplay as any stealth segment, and you can complete it without much noise or excitement if you're patient.
But when I'm talking boss fight, I mean there is no way to just stealth out of it. It's all about being looser and firing awesome shots.
With the shooting and tossing mechanics, environmental awareness, and fast twitch reflexes that are tested against a single strong enemy. That's a boss. And with such a resounding disease infection that is central to the entire story, you would have thought that the game would have had a few more meaty surprises left for the latter chapters. I mean, it's not like the game is hinging on realism when it comes to this, so I'm not sure why they didn't come up with something a bit more innovative. The bloater is as close as it gets, and it eventually just becomes another stock enemy that blends in with the infected crowd. So it eventually just becomes meh. In fact, the last segment of the game with Joel and Ellie has 2 bloaters that you can just walk right past.
This should have been the ultimate test for Joel and Ellie, where they have to save each other in amazing set pieces and close shaves. But instead, they just fall off of a platform and drown in a bus. It's disappointing.
Finally, Joel takes care of Marlene in this cinema scene, and you would think that she would have proven to be the final adversary. She's the leader of the Fireflies, after all, and players would feel conflicted, being as Ellie's protector and guardian was Marlene.
But whatever it is you think you're going through right now is nothing to what I have been through. I knew her since she was born.
And here Ellie is, unable to do anything about it, while Joel and her square off. Now granted, the whole ending segment would have had to play out a lot differently. Joel can't just open the door, plop Ellie in the back, lock it, and then politely ask Marlene to just wait for a bit, and then get behind cover and start a shootout in the parking garage. So maybe this was just the cleanest and simplest way to end the main action. What do you think? Could the Marlene encounter have worked in any other fashion? It's intriguing to think about, as is, well, basically everything The Last of Us presents.
Sorry. So, is everything you were hoping for?
My verdict? Yeah, it really is. I just can't find it in my heart to give The Last of Us a third miss that really hampers it. I mean, sure, there's gonna be a few minor quibbles.
Like AI that destroys the illusion. Look at Tommy. His entire home base is getting raided and lit up. People getting shot left, right, and center. And he's just like, I wonder what Maria's cooking for supper tonight. Yeah. And many other glitches and blunders that briefly take us out of the realism.
Scoot back.
She's not on the horse anymore, Joel.
Scooch. Well, scoot.
Oh my god. But, I mean, almost every game has a few errors like this anyway.
The Last of Us set new benchmarks for both storytelling and survival horror gameplay. Simultaneously. That doesn't happen with any video game. It's entirely possible to pick this up today if you somehow haven't experienced it. It's aged remarkably well, especially in the new PS5 iteration.
Bask in the glory of its graphics, characters, and gameplay, and laugh as Ellie herself becomes exasperated at the prospect of standing on another pallet. With no real big monstrosities to be found, despite a world apparently taken over by infected monsters.
You could just watch someone play it, and you'll be taken in by its characters, environments, and world building, which is probably why the recent TV adaptation is doing so well.
You could also do just the opposite. Put Joe Blow and Jane Doe in for Joel and Ellie, and you'd still have a remarkably tense, post-apocalyptic adventure that encourages exploration, experimentation, and resourcefulness, which the multiplayer helps prove.
To have a game that can showcase the value of video games in two completely separate ways is a rare and wonderful occurrence. But this is just a humble, backwoods gamer's opinion. What hits did I miss? And what misses should I have hit? Please let me know that and anything else in the comments below. This has been Shep from Gaming Introspection. Take care of yourselves, have a great start to March, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with a much more light-hearted entry. Until next time.
You think they ever found each other?
How the hell would I know?
Well, I'd like to think they did.